Ah.
Pirate replica ship called the Black Raven. Take a cruise on a schooner or a tiki bar cruise. And any one of our tickets selling oldest Spanish colonial dwelling in St. Augustine. The oldest house museum is a complex of 4 main buildings that open to a central courtyard. It's a magnificent representation of Spanish architecture. And you'll find extensive exhibits here about the history of St. Augustine. Exhibit about St. Augustine's surfing culture. The exhibit includes a vast collection of vintage surfboards. And these 5 flags that are flying represent the 5 eras of St. Augustine rule. And those are the first Spanish period, the British period, the second Spanish period, the Confederacy, and statehood. And down the street to the right, that yellow building on the left is the King's Bakery. That is the oldest British era building in St. Augustine. And right across from it is the St. Augustine National Cemetery. The same stone that's used to build the fort. And there's a nice view of the Bridge of Lions. The Bridge of Lions was built in 1927. Was originally called the Menendez River Bridge. It's named for the 2 white marble lions that adorn the St. Augustine side portal of the bridge. Those white marble lions were donated by Andrew Anderson Jr. That was Henry Flagler's close friend and personal physician. He was also a one-time mayor of St. Augustine. The Bridge of Lions is an active drawbridge. On the average, it opens twice per hour. Our next stop is at the marina. There's also a miniature golf course located there. And if you want to exit at stop number 16, please wait till I've stopped and rung the bell, then exit carefully to your right. And please exit backwards while you're holding on to the bars and handles. This is stop number 16. Coming up on our left. And just beyond Harry's is a very unique Hilton property, starting with the yellow building. It's a complex of 12 colonial replica buildings. Each building represents 1 or 2 suites. Our next stop is at the fort, the Castillo de San Marcos. The fort is made from coquina. Coquina is a Spanish word that means tiny shell. It's a very unique stone that's found throughout this area. It's very soft and porous rock. All of the coquina that was used to build the fort was quarried on Anastasia Island and ferried over to this side. And once the stone cured and hardened, it became the perfect building material for the fort because it had a very unique property. It was able to absorb the impact of a cannonball rather than shatter upon impact. So if the fort were ever hit with a cannonball, the cannonball would sink into the wall and get stuck in there rather than blow the wall up to pieces. And the walls of the fort are up to 17 foot thick at the base. And tickets to tour the fort are sold by the National Park Service. If you look in the water right next to the fort, there are a couple of dolphin I just saw breaching. Tickets to tour the fort are sold by the National Park Service. Their ticket selling kiosk is that small building at the right. And if you look carefully to your right, And please exit backwards. Mission Nombre de Dios, where the Great Cross is located. She was the Pulitzer Prize-winning author of the book The Yearling. She and her husband converted the Castle Warden into a hotel. And later on, the building would be transferred to the Ripley family, and it became the very first Ripley's Believe It or Not Museum, coming up on our right. Ripley's is known for its collections of unusual, weird, macabre artifacts and exhibits. Although all of it is very entertaining stuff. Some of you might remember that back in the 1980s there was a TV show called Ripley's Believe It or Not. I'm told that the latter years of that series were filmed right here. Coming up on our right is a segment of tree trunk. That's a 4-room tiny house. Can hold up to 9 people. And you don't need a ticket for the museum to go inside the tree trunk, although they do lock it up when the museum is closed. And we're going to head to the back and turn around. And as we do, check out that shiny horse in the corner. That Bronco sculpture is molded entirely of chrome car bumpers. And that sculpture was a gift to the Denver Broncos before their 1987 Super Bowl appearance against the New York Giants. And if you want to exit before it begins, until I've stopped and rung the bell, then exit carefully to your right. And please exit backwards while you're holding onto the bars and handles. Mentioned hidden in the trees. That was once the home of Lucy Abbott. Back in the 1860s, when Miss Abbott was only 22, she became a very significant developer in this section of St. Augustine. She built 129 homes. And a few of them remain standing today, including the building that houses the Christmas shop to your right, as well as the next 2 buildings coming up on your right, which are Chez L'Amour and the Coffee House. Now, being that it was the 1860s, and being that Miss Abbott was a very young female, I'm told that she often was not respected or taken seriously by persons in power and authority, and that she had to do a lot of her business by pretending to be her brother. Nonetheless, she gets the full credit for the development of this section of St. Is it the Our Lady of La Leche, Mary? Then exit carefully to your right. Senator is a term for that. They call that a love tree. If you want to exit here, please wait till I've stopped and rung the bell, then exit carefully to your right. And please exit backwards while you hold on to the bars and handles. This is stop number 21, the Old Senator. And nobody on, nobody off. Early in the movie. And now we're going to turn into the Fountain of Youth. The Fountain of Youth is St. Augustine's oldest tourist attraction. It's also the archaeological remains of the Timucuan Indian village of Saloy. Timucuan Indians were here all the way back to about 500 BC. And at the Fountain of Youth, you can tour the archaeological remains. You can visit their planetarium for a demonstration of what navigation was like back in colonial times. Or just walk.
Best attractions, Step back in time at the oldest store museum experience. Take a ride on Flagler's Railroad to Key West in the St. Augustine History Museum. Get locked up at the old jail and shop for gifts and souvenirs at Peter Bob's